I check it like you read Singh bowling it, yeah? I really don't mind.
You hit me once, I hit you back.
He's bowling like my Auntie Annie when she'd had too much sherry to drink.
Played over my head, then I set fire.
मैंने कहा बेटा बेटा होता है और बाप बाप होता है.
Hello and welcome to a new episode of Pie Checkers Cricket Podcast. This is Vivek along with my fellow Pie Checkers Sai, Shivam and Sumer. So after a delay of close to 5 months, cricket's biggest T20 league, the Indian Premier League, is back and it kickstarts on 19th September. For us, it means moving away from wondering what to binge on Netflix to watching cricket for the next 50 days to go along with some fantasy league Mardhar. And just to let you guys in, we have been playing fantasy league since around 2013, and Sumer is to fantasy league what Mumbai Indians is to IPL. But it is time to take him down, right, guys?
Yeah. Most definitely.
A few minutes back, you didn't agree, but yeah, whatever.
Okay, so now coming back to what is in store for us today, we are putting our heads together to identify who are the probable top fours who would qualify for the playoffs in no particular order. So how are we going to do that? So there are total 8 teams in the tournament, and each of us have been assigned 2 teams. The assigned pie checker will give their take on the strengths and weaknesses of the team, followed by what they think are the must-have and the utility players from a fantasy league perspective. And with each team analysis ending, there is a buy and sell out call out by all of us, wherein a buy means a top 4 finish and a sell means a bottom 4 finish. After all the 8 teams are done, we are going to do a cumulative scoring of the buy and sells of each team and arrive at the top 4 teams. And as the tournament progresses, each week we will relook at this table. Simple? No? Just hold on with us. It will make sense as it plays out. So who are we going to start with, guys? RCB, the perennial chokers, underachievers? Sumer?
Sure. Let's start with the bottom of the table from 2019, RCB. This year, they've made some changes. The core team probably still remains the same with VK and ABD. And obviously some bowling in the shape of Yuzvendra Chahal. But they've made some purchases to strengthen, specifically to address some of their weaknesses, like they were not in terms of the death bowling. So they've added, the likes of Dale Steyn probably, and Isuru Udana. Maybe he'll get a few games to show his mental in IPL. They've also added Chris Morris, again, will help them strengthen the death bowling and have maybe a finisher's role. And Aaron Finch at the top of the order, again, to bolster their already existing, huge top order. IPL, again, is a run-making tournament. So looking at their strengths, as always, they have a very good batting lineup. They have explosive top order. With Virat Kohli and AB de Villiers. Now Aaron Finch as well will, add more strength to that top order. They also have very good middle order. If they do play Moeen Ali, which seems more likely now with spin coming into effect more and more in the UAE, specifically in the later part of the tournament. So they'll have an informed Moeen Ali as well, along with Chris Morris. So a good middle order and a finisher touch there as well. That's about their batting. Coming over to talking about their bowling, they've always had problems, with bowling. They, at the death, the likes of Umesh Yadav can only do as much. They have a good spin attack though. So if you look at Yuzvendra Chahal and Washington Sundar, those two, obviously, with Chahal's experience and the surprise element sometimes that Sundar adds to the bowling attack would obviously help them do well this year as well. But we'll have to see how much they can play with Dale Steyn and try to end their woes from death bowling. That being said, who are my must-haves for this team? I would definitely pick Virat Kohli. Boundary scoring abilities aside, UAE, all the games would be played in big grounds, so a lot of running around with supreme fitness like ABD, with ABD, and obviously Virat Kohli, a lot of 2s and 3s for the taking. Definitely take ABD and Virat Kohli, Aaron Finch as well. Then utility players, I would definitely pick Yuzvendra Chahal. I'd also pick Washington Sundar, and also David Parikar, because if they do play him a lot, he will score some runs and he'll come up cheap. So that's sort of my preview or the look at the RCB. But coming to taking a decision of buy or sell, I'd still probably sell them. I would say they would not fare in the top 4, especially given their bowling problems. But it's open for your vote as well. What do you think, guys? What do you think, Vivek, Shivam, and Sai? What do you think about their fate in the tournament?
For me, I think things are going to change for RCB this year. It's going to be a buy for me. Definitely a top 4 finish.
Okay.
So for me, as well, as much as I would like to hate buying a team that contains Umesh Yadav and Mohammad Siraj, I think it will be a buy this year. They have good spinners and they have decent batting that can play spin. It will be a buy from me as well.
No death bowling still. Don't trust Umesh Yadav and Mohammad Siraj. Not convinced that Dale Steyn will last a whole tournament in that heat. So it's a sell for me still.
Or even play. Okay, good. So that being then out of the way, let's look at our next team. Vivek, do you want to take over?
Yeah, so the next team is Rajasthan Royals, and just look at their overseas contingent, especially their batting unit. Josh Butler at the top, followed by Steve Smith in the middle, and then the Superman Ben Stokes to finish the innings in the and contribute in the death bowling. And then we have Jofra Archer. Each of them is a match winner on their own. But is that enough to get them over the line? They have bought in Robin Uthappa from KKR, but for me, he is over the line. And though he's going to be in the starting 11, but for me, he's over the line. Last year, his strike rate was 115, which not really that great. Then you look at Sanju Samson. He seems to have every year he seems to have 1 or 2 innings where he plays really well, but then doesn't do much through the rest of the tournament. So consistency is a problem with him. And add to that, I was surprised that Steve Smith overall has an IPL strike rate of less than 130, and last year had an strike rate of 116. So just looking at that whole batting structure, is it too dependent on Butler? Maybe. So I have a lot of questions with respect to this team. Coming to their bowling, apart from Archer, I see a big hole in their bowling unit. There are no champions or pedigree spinners in the team, and their go-to spinner might as well be Shreyas Gopal or Mayank Markande. So that is not speaking much. And strangely, all their spinners are leg spinning options. The only one who they have who bowls a little bit of off spin is Ryan Parag, but he's not their out and out spinning option. And that puts a lot of pressure on Unatkar. He may have a few good games. He's a left armers. Left armers are supposed to be good in T20, but he just doesn't seem to have that consistency, especially in the death bowling. It doesn't inspire a lot of confidence in me. So coming to who are the must-haves for RR for me, definitely Josh Butler. There is no other way. I mean, he has to be there. Apart from that, if Stokes is fit, then he gets in. Other than that, I would go for Archer. Coming to utility players, I think that's an interesting bit. I would Yashasvi Jaiswal for me. He may not be in the in the opening few matches probably, but I see him playing down somewhere in the later part of the tournament. And apart from opening the batting, he also bowls those leg spinners, and he gets those breakthroughs. So I think he could be a good utility pick apart from Ryan Parag, who is a handy lower order batsman and bowls a few tight overs. He did well in the last year's tournament. So, looking at the overall scheme of things, feel they have a good overseas contingent, but they are too dependent on that. And with the lack of good Indian core contingent, for me, it's a sell. How about you guys? Shivam?
Oh, as much as I want to buy this team with those four quality foreign players of Stokes, Butler, Smith, and Archer, the top half is very good, but the bottom half again is not that good. So when you're defending 140, 150, you need good bowlers. Apart from Archer, I don't think they have much. So it's just a sell from me.
Yeah, I think reading an article this morning, Rajasthan Royals are still not sure whether Stokes is going to play. He has not made a decision. So at this point of time, with the information I have available, if Stokes is not there, I just can't buy. I'm not buying into this RR dream then. Sumer?
Yes, it's a sell for me. It's a sell for me. I don't think they're going to go in the top four.
So it's an all sell from all of us, and that's it from RR. And the next team we have is Kings 11.
Yep. So Kings 11. Let's start off by speaking a little bit about what changes they made in the off season. So they got rid of the overpaid Varun Chakravarti, the overrated Andrew Ty, the underachieving Sam Curran, and the continuously underwhelming David Miller. Um, in their stead, they've replaced them with Glenn Maxwell, who is a marquee purchase for them. He has performed very well for them in the past, so it's a big buy. And some handy all-round options in Jimmy Neesham, Deepak Hooda, as well as some foreign pace bowlers in Sheldon Cottrell and Chris Jordan. So, I like some of those purchases. So if you look at this overall, the team and its strengths on paper at least, their top order is phenomenal. KL Rahul and Chris Gale return to, headline that team. You possibly have Mayank Agarwal at one down, which isn't the worst option. And you potentially have Nicholas Puran at number 4. That 4 on paper is on its day is as good as any across the IPL. So that's definitely a standout strength of theirs. And bringing in Maxi in place of Miller is also a potentially game-changing addition to the team. Given that Maxi is a player who's capable to define the entire season, as he did a few years ago when he took them all the way to the IPL final. I like the trade for K. Gautam. I think that is something that strengthens their all-round ranks as well. And the addition of Jordan and Cottrell to the pace bowling stocks is a must, because as we'll see in their weaknesses, they really don't have any depth in their amongst their Indian pace bowlers. So speaking of weaknesses, other than Mohammad Shami, you don't have any pace bowler of repute amongst the Indians. Ishan Porel is someone who's promising, has been talked up a lot because he had a very good Ranji Trophy season. But, playing on the biggest stage is yet to be proven. So that's a clear weakness of theirs. In terms of spinners as well, we mentioned K. Gautam. Obviously, the marquee foreign player Mujibur Rahman is there. But in terms of Indian spin options, the cabinet is pretty bare. You're looking at Murugan Ashwin or Ravi Bishnoi or K. Gautam headlining your Indian spinners. And that doesn't inspire much confidence in me. Moving on, if you look at this overall structure of this team, can Nicholas Puran even fit in here? We mentioned that Indian pace bowling ranks aren't impressive. So if you need to play one of Cottrell or Chris Jordan without sacrificing Mujib, and Maxi and Gale are untouchable, then the one person who has to go out is Puran. So fundamentally, I feel this team is weak because there's a significant dependence on their foreign batsmen, and they don't have the bowling ranks amongst the Indians to make up for that. Moving on to fantasy, the must-haves. I'll start with that first. because KL Rahul and Glenn Maxwell kind of pick themselves, so that's easy. In terms of utility players, I think Ishan Paul is going to be relied upon a lot, and I don't know how great he's going to be, but I think that he can play a role. So he's my hidden gem for this season for them. And I think Sarfaraz Khan, we've all heard the hype. He's been in and out of fitness. He's been in and out of form. Right now, in the latest Ranji season, he was in a lot of form. So I think I'd go with him as a potential hidden gem in this batting lineup. Overall, though, a bit underwhelming given the structure of this squad, and I just don't have that level of confidence. And they have a new captain and a new coach as well. So not the kind of stability that you would be hoping for, and which you see in some of the other better performing teams.
It's a sell from you?
Yep, sell all the way.
So same, sell for me as well. Again, like you mentioned, if Mujib is struggling to get in because you have to play either a pacer in the form of Cottrell or Jordan, along with maybe Nicholas Puran, who gives you that finishing touch. So if in UAE you're struggling to pick Mujib, and if you play Mujib, you're struggling to play Puran or Jordan or Cottrell, it is trouble for you. I think it'll be a sell despite Maxi being on this team.
I would. Yes,
sorry.
please, Vivek.
So for me, I think, as you mentioned, Sai, a new captain. Does he have a captaincy experience? I don't think so. And with the dependence on bowling and with the kind of bowling unit which they have, it just doesn't feel that they have the team to get into the top 4. For me, it's a sell.
I would sell it as well. What I feel is if there was no Chris Gale, all their problems would automatically solve themselves. They have place to play Puran and Mujib and Jordan and everything. But overall, I think the way they are structured seems a little off. So and also they don't have great spin options, Mujib, and then maybe Gautam, maybe Maxwell can bowl a few. But overall, I think they will struggle to go into top 4. So it's a sell.
Vivek, I think you have the next one.
I have it. So moving on to Kolkata Knight Riders, who did not make it to the top 4 last time. But what KKR have done well over the years, ever since Gautam Gambhir took the captaincy, is they retained their core. So 6 or 7 of their 11 were always with them. So be it Sunil Narayan, be it Nitish Rana, be it DK now for a few years, Andre Russell, and Kuldeep Yadav. So they've retained their core. They've done that this year as well. So that is one of their strengths that has been there through the years. What they did was they also added players like the latest sensation Tom Banton, who could come up handy at the top of the order. They also smartly bought Chris Green as a spin option, who's the off spinner from Australia. Recently had a spell of 4 overs, 3 runs in the Caribbean Premier League. They also bought the overhyped Varun Chakravarti that Kings 11 got rid of for a whopping 4 crore. They smartly bought Rahul Tripathi, who could be a backup opener again, but they spent hugely on 2 guys. Pat Cummins, 15.5 CR, the most expensive buy of the auction, and Owen Morgan, 5.25 CR. So that brings me to a perennial weakness of last year of KKR, which I believe if they've bought Morgan, he's one of the world's best white ball captain in international cricket. So having him in your team and not making him the captain, I think Dinesh Karthik, as experienced as he may be, lacks pedigree, and therefore Morgan not being a captain and Dinesh Karthik being a captain is a weakness for me in this team, because Morgan is pretty experienced, calm, composed. Now coming to other weakness, Pat Cummins is the lone experienced pacer. Whom they have is Prasidh Krishna, other than him, the Indian pacer who they're carrying from last year. He did decently well last year. I don't know how will he do in UAE when under the pump, when defending 140, 150 type of total. So Pat Cummins is the lone experienced pacer that they have. So they have a decent first 11 with probably Shubman Gill and Sunil Narayan at the top, Owen Morgan, Karthik, Russell, then Pat Cummins, Chakravarti, Kuldeep, and Prasidh Krishna probably to follow. That 11 is not bad, But what they have behind them is there is no backup. So no real backups for the first 11 guys is another weakness of this team. Then strength, if you look at the strength, like I mentioned, their core is intact. They have two quality all-rounders in World T20 cricket, Narayan and Russell. They can alone win you games. Top spinners, as you will need in UAE, larger ground sluggish wickets. Again, Narayan and Kuldeep are there. They have their core as Morgan, DK, and Russell, who will be the six hitters and the finishers. So in 140, 150 games, if you have a player scoring a 20 ball 40 or 15 ball 30, that makes an impact. So these six hitters are important. Now moving on to fantasy, must-haves of this team. Again, those two guys, world's probably one of the most valuable T20 players, Narayan and Russell, because Narayan will also open. He'll give you points of batting. Then he'll bowl. He'll give you points of bowling. Similarly for Russell, he'll definitely bat unless they're chasing 40, 50, 80. And he'll definitely bowl because they do not have a real pacer as a backup. Utility guys of this team, Shubman Gill will definitely, I think, be given a long run as opener this year. So he's a definite utility buy. He'll probably come at a very low cost as points, but he will give you runs. Nitish Rana probably because he'll also play all the games, if not most of the games, if not all, and he'll give you runs. He's been consistent for them. So these are the utility and must-haves from my side from fantasy point of view. Coming from buy or sell, it was a tough decision, and they didn't make it last year, but they've been perennially good. And I think with the team that they have, they'll probably cut it this year. So I'll buy KKR. What about you, Kharif?
For me also a buy. Just looking at their squad with Morgan, Nareen, Kuldeep Yadav, Andre Russell, Cummins, I think they might just squeeze in this time in the top four.
How about you, Sumer?
I think it's a buy for me as well, mainly because they have two quality spinners, Nareen and Yadav, and they have an okay batting. I mean, they may not have like the top four run hitters all to start with, but they, I think, have a stable batting. They have a good finishing numbers there as well in the form of Morgan and DK. So I think it's a buy for me.
How about you, Sai?
Yeah, definite buy. I think one of the best managed teams overall in the IPL season upon season. They were underwhelming last year, but they have basically retooled their team by kind of getting rid of older players who have not been performing consistently, and they've bolstered it with some smart additions like Pat Cummins and Owen Morgan. I would disagree with you. I think having Owen Morgan is a strength. It is not a weakness to have another guy who can be a captain and another voice in the dressing room. I would also say that if DK doesn't perform and they're underwhelming, you have your ready-made option for captain set in stone over there. So it's a definite buy for me. I see them in the top four at the end of this.
Fair enough. Moving back to Sai, probably your favorite team, SRH. How about them?
Yep. Sunrisers, always exciting to discuss them. Just looking at what they've been involved in the off-season, they've basically released a bunch of middle-order Indian finishers and middle-order batsmen. Deepak Hooda is gone, Ricky Bowie is gone, Yusuf Pathan is gone. Shakib Al Hassan, unfortunately, suspended, so not part of this IPL. And Martin Guptill is just added luxury when you have the best opening pair in the IPL in Warner and Bairstow. Now, who did they add? Not very active in this auction. They added a few young names: Virat Singh, Priyam Garg, and Abdul Samad, the young Kashmiri batsman, J&K batsman. Mitchell Marsh got picked up as an all-rounder, and then Fabian Allen, a spin bowling all-rounder from the West Indies. So, not much money spent in improving the team through the auction. So that would mean that, the foundation of your team should be in place. And to an extent, it is. One of the strengths, obviously, is having Warner and Bairstow at the top. Warner is explosive, but he need not take all the risks when you have a Bairstow at the other end. Warner can fulfill that role in SRH, which is to bat the 20 overs and look to score 100 runs and guide that team through the 20 overs. So that opening combo is I think, hands down the best in the IPL. And no one can beat that. Moving on, I don't think there are many Indian teams or many IPL teams who have a better set of Indian pacers than SRH. The likes of Bhuvaneshwar Kumar, Siddharth Kaul, Sandeep Sharma. A couple of them might not be the biggest names, but they are adequate role players in an IPL side. And of course, in the spin ranks, they have Rashid Khan headlining it, and he is a game changer in any side. But when we say your foundation is in its place, I only think the bowlers and the openers are in place. I really think the middle of that SRH is a big vacuum right now. You've lost Deepak Hooda and Yusuf Pathan. They weren't doing much for you, but who have you brought in? Unproven names. This is a big question mark on who's going to fill out that middle order. And one guy who I haven't mentioned, Kane Anna. Kane Anna is doesn't look to me to be a shoe-in straight away. David Warner has now been made captain, which allows SRH to play Kane only when they need to, and he's no longer guaranteed a place in the side. What that means is that you're looking at someone like Manish Pandey batting at one down, and he would be followed by someone like either Vridhiman Saha or Vijay Shankar in order to fit in the rest of the players. So I see a serious gap in their middle order because they just don't have that Indian batting strength. They're going to rely a lot on young players potentially who are unproven and who I can't really back at this point. In terms of all-rounders, I do like having Mohammad Nabi, Mitch Marsh, and Fabian Allen. That gives you some depth and variety. I see Mohammad Nabi playing, but again, with Nabi and Rashid playing two overseas spinners and two overseas openers, you're left with no one in the middle order because your Indian middle order isn't that strong. So that is a key weakness to me. And if you, from the perspective of fantasy, there's some givens in this. Rashid Khan always has to be picked from the bowlers, and Warner, because he's just Mr. Reliable when it comes to leading the way for the team. In David Bhai is back as captain, and in David and Warner we trust. But in terms of utility players, Mohammad Nabi, for me, he is a big contributor in the CPL and in other leagues, and he can be the same here. He can play a late finisher role as well as be a key cog in their bowling lineup. And just to underline the fact that their middle order is unproven, I really have the second utility player as ///. So I have Abhishek Sharma, who's a spin bowling all-rounder, / Abdul Samad, / Priyam Garg. You can fit in whoever you want there because I have no conviction as to which one of these guys is actually going to do well. So overall, my take is that it's a sell, unfortunately. As much as I am a big SRH fan, a big David Bhai fan, I just don't see them having the kind of depth in the middle order and the finishing capability that some of the other teams have. So it's a sell for me, unfortunately.
I'm sure a lot of people will not agree with you and will be surprised. Even I would have been till yesterday. I would have been buy on this team. But like you mentioned, when I look at this team, if you play the four guys like if you have to drop one of Kane or Bairstow to accommodate two of your spinners, this team struggles. It's a sell from me as well. Sumer?
Well, if you're playing Shankar and Saha as your number 4, number 5, and then, wish that the likes of maybe Fabian Allen or Mitch Marsh come good and hit at the end, you really don't have so much to look forward to. So it's a sell for me. I mean, it's a tough decision. I was very confused as well, but I think I'm going to sell this team.
How about you, Vivek?
Interesting. I guess I'll be the only buy over here. I just feel it has always been like that. Previously, it used to be Dhawan and Warner scoring the bucket load of runs, and then their bowling doing the job for them. And I think I just feel it's going to be the same. It's the same template for them. Warner and Bairstow now are going to go score big runs, and they will depend on the bowling, which they have a very good, solid bowling lineup.
Okay, it's an emotional buy, I think. Never do you do emotional buys in this market, Vivek. Coming back.
You'll see.
Yeah, sure. Moving on to
Still
Delhi
feels
Capitals.
the Hyderabad vibe.
Moving on to Delhi Capitals, like Vivek is probably
emotional
about SRH. I might be a bit emotional about this team because
emotional about punter.
Ricky Ponting is coaching them. So coming back, talking serious stuff, Delhi Capitals did well last year. They have that core retained again. What they have is Pant, Iyer, Dhawan. They have your Shaw retained. Then you have Ishant Sharma, Kagiso Rabada. What they've done well this year is, and it's I mean they luckily for them, Delhi wicket is pretty similar to I think what people are expecting in UAE, sluggish. So what they've done well is they've added spinners in the form of Ashwin. They've also added Amit Mishra to their ranks. So one of their strengths now is very good quality spin options and experience in IPL. So you have Ashwin, you have Amit Mishra, you have Akshar Patel. People may not rate him, but he's still better than a lot of other Indian spinners the teams have. He gives you a bit of batting as well. Then you also have Sandeep Lamichhane, who's not bad. He's done well in global leagues as a leg spinner. You never discount a leg spinner, and he does well. So they have very good spin options. Then what they have is good Indian batters. They have Shaw, they have Pant, they have Iyer, they have Dhawan. They have also traded in Rahane. So they have very good Indian options. What they did well was they went for Hetmeyer because they had a problem finishing their innings previously. So they spent 7 odd crores plus for Hetmeyer. They got Hetmeyer, and they also added Stoinis probably as a backup all-rounder. I don't know where he plays. That brings me to one of their weakness is that they do not have a good identifiable number 6 who connects your top 5 to your bottom 5 possibly. And if they have to play Stoinis at 6, then I don't know, because Australia is struggling with Stoinis at 6. He's a top order. So that again, like I mentioned, top order, most of their batting, they've bought Rahane. So they have Shaw, they have Dhawan, they have Rahane, they have Iyer. These all should be batting in top 3. Again, they have Stoinis. So these 5 guys are top 3 contenders. I don't know how they fit them in, but as per my understanding, Shaw, Dhawan could open, Iyer could come 3, then Pant, then they could maybe play Hetmeyer, Stoinis, and then the 3 spinners in Rabada and Ishant. So they have a very good first 11 as per me. What they also have is they have good backups, because they, like I said, Akshar and Lamichhane in spin. They have Avesh Khan. Mohit Sharma is an experienced IPL pacer. They have them as backups. They also have Harshal Patel as pacer backup, who did decently well. So they have Kimo Paul as a foreign all-rounder who did well on sluggish Delhi tracks last year. So they have a good team. They have a decent 11. They have a good backup options. I think this team will do well. And what they've done well is they've added that 6 hitting power with Hetmeyer also in the middle. So this team, I think, will do well. Coming to their must-haves, again, Iyer, he will bat in top 3. Pant will definitely get to bat in top 4 and will get to bat whenever the situation needs him. So Iyer, Pant are must-haves, given Ashwin in UAE, and he also bats. He's been batting decently for last couple of years for his teams. So these 3 are must-haves. The problem I had with was utility players from fantasy point of view, because none of these guys in the 11 that I could find could come cheap. So Shaw is an international player now. He'll not come cheap. So I had to go with Shaw as a utility player because he'll probably open. And you could pick between Akshar and Lamichhane because those are spinners and they'll do well in UAE. Lamichhane is a leg spinner, will do well. Akshar will give you both batting and bowling and is a good fielder. So these are the utility guys. For me, it's a definite buy. It's not an emotional buy like Vivek bought SRH, but it's a definite buy. They could also end up winning this for the first time. How about you, Samar? You're laughing a lot.
No, I mean, I have 2 questions about this team. One is Stoinis, and then the other one is, the placement of Stoinis, not really Stoinis. I'm okay with their pace attack, Ishant being there, Rabada there. Looking at the overall team, I think it's a sell. They will definitely, it's a buy, sorry. It's a buy. They will definitely go to the top 4 before you kill me. Even though I talked about Stoinis, I think the good thing is that I'm not sure if you even talked about. I mean, you said that Pant might go down to 4. He might even go down to 5 and then give you a little more room in the middle order to sort of get people in. So they have flexibility, which is something that I think will take them through to top 4. So buy them.
How about you, Sai?
Well, I think they're loaded in top order batsmen. They seem to have a India team problem or every team problem where everyone wants to bat in the top three or four. Hetmeyer is like, it's like the rich getting richer. Why would you buy him when you really need like a five or number six? He bats one down for CPL team. He bats one down for West Indies team. He's not a number five or six. And as you saw, he was out of place even for RCB last year. So, but I mean, I'm okay even if you don't play him because you have so much depth in the batting ranks over there that it's overwhelm. It'll overwhelm any other side. And Punter, he's the right kind of guy to bring along young players because he's an inspirational guy. So I think he is gelled well last year with the Iyer and Pant, etc. So I think he's the right guy to get the best out of them. So it's a buy just on the strength of their overall thing. And for them, really, the question for me is that they need to take the next step and get to the final this year. They've been building up for a while with Pant and Iyer. That foundation is there. Now they have to really graduate to the next level.
Definitely. Vivek, how about
All
you?
convincing arguments. But
But you
like
emotionally bought SRH, so you were in trouble.
I would.
You only came
I
by four.
just based on the experience which they have. That was SRH, and they have been doing that in and out all through these years, past years. DCH, yeah, very strong team, but. I mean, there was a problem with them with the last year as well. They were throwing away matches. They were getting into the positions to win it, but they were throwing away matches. And I don't know if that's going to change this year. I mean, yeah, punting is going to give them a rocket if that happens, but is it going to change? No, I don't think so. So it's a sell for me.
Don't think throwing away matches is a good word to use for in IPL.
Yeah.
It's very controversial. So coming back to Vivek again,
Yeah,
CSK.
CSK, the dad's army, or should I say the granddad's army now? Um, so yeah, this team has a Dhoni template written all over it. Dhoni likes to keep his options open all throughout, especially bowling in limited overs, and this team gives him that. He's packed with all rounders. In any given team combination of CSK, they will have at least 7 to 8 people who can bowl. Depending on the match situation, the pitch condition, though the Dhoni can pick and choose, and that I think is a priceless thing to have, and that is what has helped Dhoni over the period of so many years. They have a solid Indian core. Dhoni, Jadhav, Jadeja, Chahar, Thakur, the experienced Raidu. I would say they are one of the better teams in the competition in terms of Indian players. And to say Raina is not there. So yeah, they have one of the better teams from an Indian core perspective. Add to that, they know how to win tournaments. They know what it takes to win big games. Saying that, I think there are around 8 players in the team who are above 35 alone. So is experience alone going to get them through? Uh, Dhoni hasn't played since last July, since that famous semi-final match. Raidu hasn't played this whole year. Chahar has been injured, and then the biggest setback has been the non-availability of Raina. He has been as good, if not better, than Virat in IPL. So that says a lot, right? In terms of the volume of runs he has scored in IPL. Add to that, they are the last team to begin their practice in UAE. So I am expecting a slowest start for them in the tournament. So maybe by the time they find their bearings, it may be too late for them. So coming to the fantasy team, the fantasy picks. Who are the 2 picks? I would always go for Dwayne Bravo and Shane Watson just to have that. I mean, Dwayne Bravo will always get you 1 or 2 wickets, bowling those slow cutters, leg cutters, off cutters. Shane Watson opens the batting and, if required, comes and bowls those 2 overs, gets you some wickets. So I think those are some of useful. I mean, I feel just from an all-rounder perspective, these are 2 good picks. From a utility perspective, Rituraj Gaikwad, the Maharashtrian batsman, he has had a great domestic year. So if he plays, I feel he could be a guy to watch out for this year if he gets a chance to play. That is. And the second one, that's a tough one, considering the experience of the team and the way they have performed earlier. There were not many cheap buys, if I can call that. But anyhow, to do with it, I thought Piyush Chawla could be a good one. He goes for a lot of runs, but always gets you those wickets in ones and twos. So yeah, probably if you are like the punter types, like Shivam types, so you can probably go ahead and pick Piyush Chawla as your second pick as a utility player. And for me, looking at the overall scheme of things, they have had
Do
they
an
have done
emotional
great.
buy. Do an
They
emotional
have
buy.
they have done great in the last 12 years. But I think keeping everything in mind, their squad, the way they are coming into this tournament, I think the era has passed now, and it's a sell for me this time around.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. It's an emotional sell, a heartbreaking sell for you, it seems. I think हो गया यार अभी चेन्नई का हो गया. I will not talk why. I mean हो गया उनके पास कुछ नहीं है. रैना नहीं है. हरभजन is not coming. 2-3 स्पिनर हैं ठीक है अच्छे स्पिनर हैं बट नहीं है. I mean एक साल से लोग खेले नहीं है. वॉटसन का कुछ पता नहीं है. खेलेगा कितना खेलेगा कोई भी इंजर्ड हो सकता है. I mean it's so hot there. हो सकता है I mean they'll not be able to get 11 players on the park of decent experience and pedigree. नहीं है भाई sell for me, definite sell for me. How about you, Sumer?
Well, it's a very difficult question. You know, the fact is we have to get four as buys. See, there is no Raina, and that is a huge setback. But mind you, they still have the same team. They still have the same team that was in the final last year. They have the likes of Bravo and Imran Tahir will sort of like get you some wickets. They have MSD and Jadeja combo, which is something that I don't like either of them to get alone, but together I think they play very well. So purely based on the fact that I have to choose the fourth one and I have to let go of the other four, I would buy them. I think they're going to go into top four.
Oh my God. Sai, how about you?
And one more thing
Yeah.
that goes on for them is they have very good, a couple of them who are good fielders. We haven't talked a lot about fielding in the whole tournament. It's a big grounds. They have lost Raina, but they have Bravo. They have Jadeja. So I
You
think that's
couldn't name a third guy. I'm sure you can't name a third guy.
Yeah. What is that?
I would not, if I was trying to defend CSK, I would not have picked fielding as one of the
Absolutely.
the pillars of their team.
You know, with the likes of Imran Tahir there, obviously not.
Okay, so let me put it this way: we are saying that Suresh Raina is a big loss. Yes, peak prime Suresh Raina is a big loss. I think Suresh Raina was on the decline. Even last year, he had 350s, but his average was the lowest of the last. I think actually in his entire IPL career, that was the lowest average. But what does average matter? What's more important is strike rate. And his strike rate was the lowest it has ever been in his 10, 11-year career in the IPL. So clearly a player on the decline. He had only 9 sixes where he always averages double-digit sixes. So he's not that big hitter that you have expected. You have come to expect. Harbhajan Singh, I'm not even going to dig out his stats because I don't think he's a game changer. He plays a role and a role which easily Piyush Chawla could probably play that role now. But of course, Piyush would go for a bunch of sixes as well. So I really don't think that the guys who are not there are going to impact CSK that much. And I think that in a weird situation where you are playing only on 3 grounds on pitches that are going to get worn out and used, I really want to back a team and a captain who seems to have a template that works perfectly for such pitches and scenarios. Dhoni is going to love getting his spinners out there and, dictating each delivery where it should be and manipulating the field in tight situations. This is what Dhoni's game is tailor-made for. And I think this is where he's at his best. So it was between Rajasthan Royals and CSK. And I just felt with the uncertainty around Stokes, I would rather buy CSK.
So I love how the loss of Raina, you played that to your advantage to sort of get them in. Like
No, I'm
I
just
picked
saying
up
that what are you
fielding for
losing?
CSK to
What you
use
think
that.
you're losing is not what you're losing. That's all I'm trying to
Fair
say.
enough, fair enough. Coming to the last team, Sumer, since you're so excited, how about Mumbai Indians? How are they doing?
Uh, well, they won the last tournament, if that's what you're asking.
They win every alternate year. Maybe you can go ahead. What do you want to say?
Right. So, looking at that team, not a lot is going to change overall in what they had fielded last year. So the whole core remains the same. They made some changes. They got in Trent Bolt before the auction from Delhi Capitals. They got in NCN for maybe Ben Cuttings. They got in Chris Lynn probably for Evan Levis. That's probably a couple of their changes. I'm not sure if Chris Lynn will play given his form. But NCN, I think, is a really good pick. He can, get you some runs also at the lower middle order, or let's say early tail, if I may call it. So that's a good pick. But what can we say about their strengths? They have great top order batting to start with. QDK is in great form. Rohit Sharma, not much can be said about him. So they have advantage in the like of Surya Kumar Yadav. If there is an early wicket, he will come in and sort of steady things in. And if they want him to come in and start playing his shots, you know how he can be. Then they have a really very strong middle order with the likes of Pollard and Pandyas. And then obviously if they do play NCN, then he can hit a few as well. So they have obviously great batting, good domestic all-rounders with the likes of two Pandyas. That gives Rohit Sharma huge, sort of like a lot of options to play spinners, which is very essential this year. So they had Rahul Chahar play almost like all of their games last year. He will definitely feature in all of them this year as well. They might have to also play Jayant Yadav, or maybe even Balwant Rai, or even Anukul Roy sometimes, to sort of see what is their other spin options apart from the Pandya and Chahar. So all in all, their spin apart from Pandya and maybe whatever they have best in, which is Rahul Chahar. They're not the best spin spin attack. Looking at their bowling, they have the Bumrahs, and if you play Trent Bolt, and obviously they will play Mitchell McLennan as well. So they have good strength for pacers, but not the same can be said about their spin bowling arsenal. So that's one of their weakness. If I was to pick up a couple, it will be very difficult. I think I'll pick up Hardik Pandya and Quinton de Kock as my main players to always have in the team. But also look at Jasprit Bumrah. You never know when he takes 2 or 3 wickets and then gets you into a game, or plays or death overs. Krunal Pandya, Surya Kumar Yadav, and maybe even Rahul Chahar can be good utility players. And even NCN, he's not the most expensive around, but he can, whenever he plays, he'll give you a lot of runs and points. If I was to buy or sell this, I would say I'd buy it.
Like you had an option.
So yeah, I would like to see how you guys look at it, at this team. Starting with you, Shivam.
I think there is no argument. This team actually could play 2 teams and still do okay. They have the capability to field 2 11s. Akash, in his preview, Akash Chopra said that this team could actually loan players to others and still do well. So this is a very, very good team. But very good point you made is, again, spinners only Krunal Pandya and Rahul Chahar. So like SRH, this team also Indian spinners nahi hai, but where they score is a lot of good Indian batting and very, very good pace attack. So I think it was close for me because of no pedigree spinner between them and SRH. But SRH didn't have any middle order. These guys have a solid middle order and they know how to win. It's a buy for me. How about you, Sai?
Well, just like their owner Mukesh Ambani, the rich keep getting richer. And yes, Mumbai Indians were number one last year, and they have to go in as pre-tournament favorites, hands down. There don't seem to be many holes in that 11, and though you could say that a little bit of spinner depth is lacking, I think we're just, even that is a criticism that we are forced to find something at fault. So we are finding something at fault because, I think with just those two spinners, they do have enough to get through the tournament. So yeah, bye. There's not much to be said beyond that over here.
How about you, Vivek?
100%. Yeah, I think this is as obvious it can get. It is a straight away buy for me. Yes, I think that's a good point that they don't have spinners, but just looking at the batting quality which they have, especially the explosiveness which they have, you set them any target, I think that's going to be, it will be chased down. So hands down here. I mean, I think as Sai said, and I think most of us are in agreements. I think they are the tournament favorites.
So
they will therefore win the tournament next year, right?
Next year, definitely they will. This year, they may not. So coming back to the end of our preview and the buy and sells that we've done throughout the show, what that has resulted in is, so what we've done is we've subtracted all the sells from the total buys of each team. And what has happened is that without any particular order, the top four teams for us are RCB, KKR, Delhi Capitals, and Mumbai Indians. So the teams that will not make it this year to the top four are Rajasthan, not surprising, Kings 11, not surprising. CSK and SRH are a bit surprising because these two did qualify last year. So RR, Kings 11, SRH, CSK are bottom four for us without any particular order, obviously. So let's see how this goes in the future, and let's review this every week.
Sure. And we'll keep it as, and see at the end of the tournament who gets the bragging rights, right?
Definitely.
Yeah. So I think with that we have come to this episode of our podcast. Let us know, what do you feel? What are your predictions of this? You can write to us, comment, share, whatever you want to do. You can do it. You have our details. So yeah, this is Bye Checker signing off for this time.
Like and
see you next
subscribe.
week. And yes, thank you, Sai. Please like, share, subscribe, and let us know what we are doing good, what we can do better. That's very, very useful and helps us improve. So yeah, thank you. Take care.
I check it like you read Singh spelling it, yeah? I really don't mind.
You hit me once, I hit you back.
He's bowling like my Auntie Annie when she'd had too much sherry to drink.
Played over my head, then I set fire.
मैंने कहा बेटा बेटा होता है और बाप बाप होता है.